Hey, I'm PH and welcome to Good Bible Knowledge with PhD. In this set of videos, I want to provide a helpful and enjoyable way of understanding common questions about the Bible. I hope you'll find these videos helpful for your own spiritual journey in Jesus. Let's get started. Who is Ruth? In the time of the Judges, there was a famine in the land, and there was a family, Elimelech, Naomi, and their two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, decided to leave Israel and go to the land of Moab. This decision showed a lack of faith in God as they abandoned God to look for greener pastures in a foreign land. And because of their disobedience, Elimelech and his two sons died, leaving Naomi alone with her two daughter-in-laws, Orpah and Ruth. Having little options, Naomi decided to return to Israel. Not far along in their travels, Naomi turned to her two daughters and encouraged them to return home to their birth mother so they would be able to find new husbands to care for them. This would leave the widowed Naomi alone to face the hardships that awaited her back in Israel. Orpah and Ruth wept for their mother-in-law as Naomi kissed them goodbye. Orpah returned home, but Ruth clung to Naomi. In an extraordinary act of love and devotion, Ruth proclaimed, "Wherever you go, I will go with you. Wherever you live, I will live with you. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." Ruth pledged herself to be faithful to Naomi and to care for her all the days of her life. When they arrived in Israel, Ruth immediately went to work in the fields, picking up leftover grain to provide for Naomi. Under God's loving care, Ruth just happened to pick a field belonging to a man named Boaz, who was a kind and godly man. As Boaz was walking through the field, he asked one of his workers, "Who is that girl gleaning in the field?" The man replied, "That's Ruth, the Moabite." Boaz had heard of Ruth's love and kindness towards her mother-in-law, and he ordered his workers to enable her to gather more grain than usual. When Ruth returned home that evening, her mother inquired, "In which field did you work today?" And Ruth replied, "In the field of a man named Boaz." Upon hearing this, Naomi's hope was instantly lifted, for she realized that this could only be the kindness and mercy of the Lord. Boaz was in fact related to Naomi. This meant, according to Jewish tradition, he could act as a kinsman redeemer, someone who could legally marry Ruth and redeem both of them out of poverty. Yet why would a rich and reputable landowner like Boaz want to take on the additional responsibility of caring for a widow and her Moabite daughter? In an act of faith, Naomi instructed Ruth how to approach Boaz that evening, in accordance with Jewish tradition. That evening, when Boaz was asleep in the field, Ruth lay down at his feet. At midnight, Boaz was startled and asked, "Who are you?" Ruth replied, "I am your servant Ruth. And according to Jewish tradition, if you please, will you pledge yourself in marriage to care for me and my mother?" Boaz was delighted at this request. There was, however, one particular problem. In the city, there was another man of closer relation who had priority in marrying Ruth according to Jewish tradition. But Boaz reassured Ruth that he would care for the matter, and Ruth returned home to Naomi. That morning, Boaz gathered the elders to settle the matter of Ruth and Naomi. When the second kinsman redeemer was asked, "Will you agree to take on the responsibility of redeeming the property of Elimelech and Naomi?" the man said yes. Boaz quickly pointed out that if the man agreed to do so, he would also be responsible to care for Naomi and Ruth. To which the man replied, "I cannot, for I do not want my inheritance to go to a foreigner." Boaz then pledged to take Ruth as his wife and to care for both Naomi and Ruth as his own. And the Lord blessed Boaz and Ruth with a son. The book of Ruth reminds us of the faithful love of God through Jesus. In her darkest moments, Naomi believed that her life would forever bear the consequences of her sin, with very little hope of a future. But by God's mercy, Ruth became the source of Naomi's redemption. Ruth left her homeland, gave up everything in order to provide for Naomi. And through Ruth's love and faithfulness, Naomi's life was restored in an unexpected and undeserved fashion. Ruth is a picture of what Jesus has done for us, as he left his home in heaven to come to earth, and he gave up everything by dying on the cross for our sin. And through his resurrection, Jesus offers redemption and new life to everyone who believes. Thanks for listening to another episode of Good Bible Knowledge. We'll see you next time.